So you're just finding out that you probably have low dopamine levels, probably because your doctor told you, because you have ADHD, or you have some other kind of mental health issue, or you're just having trouble with focus and attention, and they say, well, you probably have low dopamine levels, so let's put you on medication. But maybe you're at a situation where you do not want to have to do medications, or you want to try to do as much as possible using medications and maybe use some other things to naturally boost your dopamine levels, or you have a child that maybe has ADHD and you want to try to use some foods that could possibly help increase their dopamine levels. Well, I'm going to dive in and talk about as far as which specific types of foods do increase our dopamine levels naturally versus just having to use a medication. So I'm going to go into that right after this intro. Welcome back, my optimal mind. Dr. LeGrand here, and today we're going to be talking about how to naturally boost your dopamine levels with foods. What foods specifically do boost actually your dopamine levels? But let's first kind of dive in as far as what does dopamine do? Well, dopamine is a neurotransmitter in our brain that specifically helps with our motivation. It's kind of like that chemical brain that does help us wanting to get things done. And a lot of people with ADHD tend to lack with dopamine levels, same with even depression and some other mental health issues. And this can be really a big challenge for people with ADHD and depression, just like I did growing up with ADHD. It can be a challenge to be able to get anything done as far as school, work, or tasks on a daily basis. So you're trying to look for ways, okay, how can I actually increase those dopamine levels with food, stuff that we eat on a daily basis? And one of the best ways to actually get the best sources of foods for dopamine is really high quality protein. So high quality protein does help regulate our insulin levels. And insulin has to deal with regulating our sugar. And sugar can definitely play a huge role in our dopamine and increasing it or decreasing it, as well as causing issues with having a focused, sharp mind. So let's talk about some really good high quality proteins that you can incorporate on a daily basis. One of the big ones is beans, like lima beans, as well as lentils. Those are very high amount of proteins that you can start incorporating on a daily basis. Some other things that you can also incorporate is, of course, the typical meats. So things such as chicken, turkey, fish, lamb, and beef. But you want to try to get as much as organic meat because it doesn't have a lot of the other things that are added. So when it is a more store-bought and non-organic, they usually do put a lot of pesticides, a lot of different chemicals and preservatives that can cause symptoms for people with ADHD. So if you can get organic, that's going to be the best option to be able to implement. So on other things you can also implement to get good high quality of proteins is eggs. Getting good eggs on a daily basis or at least a couple times out of the week is a good source of actually getting protein. And it's a big challenge for a lot of people with ADHD to get good amounts of protein in. I see this all the time with my patients who come in for ADHD. When I do a diet history with them, a lot of times it's high carbs and not very much proteins. But when you start focusing on implementing more proteins on each one of your meals, you'll start seeing a big difference within your focus and be able to attention, because what it does, it helps regulate your blood sugar levels. When you aren't able to regulate your blood sugar levels and you're only constantly eating consistent carbs and sugars, you hit these high and lows in your blood sugar. And when that happens, you can't have a consistent focused mind throughout the day. And protein helps regulate that blood sugar. So it's always consistent and get some protein at every single meal. And so these are definitely options that you can start implementing. Other things you can do is cheese as well as nuts. So not all different variety of different nuts have good sources of protein, or doing nut butters. Also on top of that, you could do seeds. So like pumpkin seeds or sesame seeds. Those are different options that you can also get good high quality of protein. But on top of that, you should be getting good amounts of vegetables. And there is definitely vegetables out there that are high protein based. So things such as broccoli and spinach. Broccoli and spinach have very high sources of protein, and you certainly can incorporate all of that by balancing out your blood sugar levels to have a good focused mind, but more importantly, to be able to increase your dopamine levels naturally, because these are the things that it does need to be able to increase those dopamine levels naturally. Now, the last thing I would say is what you could do if you're finding your kid having a hard time getting protein in, or yourself as an adult having a good time, having hard time to actually get protein in your system, is you can do protein powder. I wouldn't say it's like the best option. If we're talking about good, better, best, the best source is going to be right from the actual whole foods source. So even trying to do things such as like bone broth is probably the best bioavailability protein you can get. And there is bone broth protein powders that you can use. But if that is the only way of getting actually protein, it's better to get some protein in versus nothing in within your kid or for yourself. So protein powders is another alternative to be able to get your protein source in. Okay. So these are definitely a list of things that you can start implementing to get good qualities of protein in, but more importantly, to increase your dopamine levels so that you can have more of a focused and sharp mind throughout the day. Now, if you are struggling with increasing your dopamine levels naturally, or you have ADHD, or you have focus and attention issues, and you're trying to find ways to actually be able to get on top of it and more of a natural way of doing it, you should watch my free Focused Mind Masterclass training. And it's free, and it's in the description below that you can register and watch a free training on me to help you understand how to have a better focus and sharp mind. Okay, so this is Dr. LeGrand signing out. Until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye.